welcome to Bars. I'm Snaps, and we have here with us Rec. Because we're eventually going to bring this to podcast, it would probably be good to use some form of mouth words, too.
You caught me when I was pulling up the notes.
God damn it. It's literally the first sentence in the notes. The first sentence. Anyway, moving on. So that's Rec. And she nods one more time. Perfect. Y'all heard that nod, right? All right, LR, we got LR with us here.
Nah, it me.
I can't with
That's
y'all
confirmation
today.
that I'm on audio.
Oh, you're doing great. And then we got Bossy as well.
Hi everyone, sorry if you saw me flailing. I just killed a spider.
Oh, you found it?
Yep, I found it right next to me.
Oh my god. And then our wonderful guest tonight is Ekuegan. Y'all are looking at him. Beautiful man. EK, we're so happy you joined us tonight.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Sorry about all the skips. I was moving.
No, it was on our end too. Like there was just a lot of extenuating circumstances that came up. So this kind of, it is what it is. We would have loved to have still had Sunny with us here tonight, but it happens. She's feeling a little under the weather, so we're all gonna continue on and wish her well. And we're gonna jump right into this. EK, tell us everything about you, or just like a little bit, or whatever you feel like doing. Just introduce yourself for anyone who might not know you yet. What you do.
Throw in your social security number as well.
Yes.
Nice. Hey everyone, I'm EK. I guess I'm known as a guy who just like grinds everything in Destiny. But let's see, where do we start? I moved to the US when I was 10 years old with my parents. We moved to Jersey. I'm into sports. I also played Division I college basketball before all of this. And usually I do my best I get to be positive and chill, especially when it comes to my chat. I do my best to have people like, welcome into the chat and, just to like get people out of their whatever like brings them down during the day. I do my best to just, make people laugh and just kind of enjoy and just take the day by day. So that's what I do. I stream on Twitch mostly like almost every day for at least 8 to 9 hours. And yeah, that's it.
That's some good stuff. Where did your family move from? I don't think you specified.
Moved from a country called Togo, which is in West Africa.
Okay, hold on. I gotta kick Capone out of here. Oh my gosh. What kind of show is this? Get out
A professional show, apparently.
All the animals cutting up, man.
I know.
Oh.
Slamming.
There's a door slam.
Yeah.
Poor
He's
Pickle.
snapping.
This guy, he started working himself up. I just gave him his meds, so I thought he would be chill by now. But he's doing the thing where he's like, you're not paying attention to me, so I'm gonna weave between electronics and I'm gonna like bash into your chair every so often. It's a very distracting thing. It would have been hard. So now he's gonna stay out there and cry a lot, probably. Anyway, this is totally not at all disorganized today, and I'm really happy about it. So, EK, part of the reason we wanted to have you on tonight is obviously, like, we fucking love you. Big fan. Known you for a while, came up in the Destiny directory along with you, got to hang out with you at a lot of events. Just love you, dude. But we also wanted to celebrate a major milestone. Would you like to share that milestone with us right now?
Which one?
Which one? That's what I like to hear, man. We got the time, all of them.
Yeah, I don't know. There's been a lot of cool milestones. I hit over like 50,000 followers on Twitch, 10,000 subscribers on Twitch as well, and I'm almost at 10,000 followers on Twitter, which is weird because like a month or two ago I was like maybe at 3,000. Things are just like picking up fast. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Wow. So how do you feel? How did that feel? I know we were talking as you were getting close to 10K subs, and that was cool. Like there was even conversation like in this group and in like a lot of our friends, just like, this is so cool to see. Everyone was kind of talking like talking you up behind your back about how excited we were to see you hit that. How did that feel? How are you feeling now?
It felt unreal. I'm gonna be honest, because I've been streaming for a while, and like you'll see like a few changes here, numbers go up, numbers go down, but like I never seen something that like just elevated and that fast. Like I did like the podcast with Broman and Libra and all these guys one night, and I think like the goal was like maybe like 3,000, and we were at like 1,800, and we were like, we're not gonna hit that, whatever, we'll just put it up there. And I don't know, it just started up that night, and it just started fueling up, and it just kept going. And then like, it's hard to say this, but there were just different situations that just kept happening. It was like I was in the perfect place at the right time kind of thing. And then the Bungie Twitch thing came out where like 2 people give a sub for an emblem. I don't know what it is. Everything just aligned. Like it went from like 3 to 5, then to like it went to 74, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh well, there's no more. You can't go anymore. The next thing is like the 10K. And we were talking about like, I don't know if we're ever gonna get the 10K ever again. And I asked the community, I was like, if you guys want to make it, we can try to get these like 60 emotes unlocked. It'll be pretty neat to see in the directory. And it was crazy to see, because I feel like I have peers that are like way ahead of me. Like I've seen like Gigs got it, Frost got it. Like a few of my peers legit, guys that like hold way more viewers than I kind of got up there. And it was strange to see like someone the size of my channel kind of like grow that out. It also showed like the strength in the community, because it's not about like quantity. It was more about quality, and like everybody wanted to go for that goal. It wasn't something that was like, okay, I want to push for this, I'll just get on, and they're like, change the number, like we went over that number, EK, like change it. I'm like, fine, I'll change it. And as soon as I change it, it gets messed with again. So it was one of those things where like I would get on and it just kept going, and I didn't know what to do really. I just kept saying thank you, because every time I got off, I would speak to my mom like, yeah, it's been like crazy, and she's like, oh, you'll be fine. And then when I hit 10K, she was like, that's crazy. Like, she called me, she was like, that's crazy. I don't know. I don't even know where it's going now, but every day, like more and more people like come in, they say nice things, and they hang out, and it's a weird world. Like I get like emails from all these companies that like I used to like sit here and write like paragraphs for to try to work with. It's a different world. Like I don't even know the half of it, but I had to look into like an accountant and be smart about like everything, writing off stuff, and there's a lot happening now. I just can't like just get on and like stream and play anymore. I have to like time stuff out too. It's crazy. And then with moving, there's I still have like a bunch of stuff around me that I still have to like put up.
Yeah.
So yeah,
man,
been a crazy 2 months. Yeah.
That's so awesome though. I know like all of the times when I stopped into your stream when you were in that process of moving towards the 10K, the energy in there was very much of like community effort. Like you just kept sitting there like saying thank you and like doing your thing, and everyone in chat was just like in this consistent perpetual state of just like hype. It was nonstop, and it was a lot of like we commentary, which I really loved. Like, let's go, we got this, we can get him here. So there was definitely that like, this is like our community leader, but also like this is our friend, this is our win as a community too. Did it feel like that? Like you got to really celebrate that success like with your group there?
Yeah, it felt like that. It was I talk about this all the time because Chaotic, and I feel like Chaotic and Savage, like some of these guys, like I met them around the same time, and it's weird because I don't know how it trickles down, but it's like Chaotic will come in and over time he'll just start like giving 5 subs, and then like someone else that got gifted a sub will give a sub, and it's weird, but I feel like that riled him up to like give more subs, because he's like, wait, if I do and someone else does it, maybe we could get this going. And every day, like it just became a thing for him. And even now, like, I was like, Chaotic, stop giving me subs, and he'll just come in and do it, you know. And the Savage will randomly do it too. Savage is still a jerk, but he'll just come in and randomly do it, you know.
Oh
And it's
my
like,
god. That is the Twitch dynamic in a nutshell right now. Person being super, super generous to me, still definitely a jerk though.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
gotta troll our friends here, right? Oh man, I know I was really excited to see that, and it was just cool knowing you and knowing like what a humble guy you've always been. And to see you hit that milestone was dope. And I saw you tweeting out saying how proud and excited you were to be the first African American to be at the top of the directory in that sense, in the Destiny directory. Do you feel like this marks like a big turning point in terms of how you've been like accepted into that directory, or even the opportunities that you've gotten or felt like you've gotten within the Destiny directory?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I hit another plateau for sure, but it was also a good thing, because then I have, you know, a bunch of people that like, hey man, I look up to you, like, you know, I didn't know if I can do something like that, you know, like, but if you can do it, then I could possibly do it. Like, people are like, it helps others think about like, hey man, I could do it too, you know, like, I had like people send me their clips. There was a dude that was like, yeah man, he can't just sit there and plays and cracks on people and tell people to hold these nuts all day, and he has like all these subs and he's just like chilling, hanging out. He's like, that's what I want to do too. And it's crazy because I never seen it that way. I just get on and I just play for long hours and boom, I just get off, you know. And I always tell my stream too, I was like, if there's a day where I don't feel like streaming, you're not gonna see me, but most of the time I'm up to stream, you know, because it's almost like going to school, you kind of meet like your friends and stuff like that. You know, you have to go to your classes and do your thing, but you enjoy going to school, you know. And it's one of those feelings that like hasn't left me yet, and I don't know. It's pretty freaking awesome because you know who you're gonna see depend on the time that you're doing it to.
Yeah.
And I don't really have an actual schedule, but there's always times where I meet somebody. Like, I know if I go on later, I'm gonna have like these people in chat, and it's kind of cool to just catch up with them about their day or what they're doing. And that's another thing too. I like to have like my chat be, you know, like clean, so I can kind of talk with people, because you know some people like spamming emails, and I'm like, just respect it a little bit. You know, like I want to like actually chat with people. But, you know, like especially if I'm doing something and that, you know, I didn't finish a convo with that person. It's just nice to kind of have that. And I was telling people too. I was like, you know, I don't know if I want to get to a point where like I can't really read my chat anymore. Like I can't kind of like be like, all right, cool, let me answer your question, or like let me talk to this person, because I don't know if it's gonna be as enjoyable. Like right now, I feel like it's like perfect. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. What kind of concurrent viewership do you typically average? And how long have you been on Twitch again?
This is my 5th year on Twitch.
I thought so. I thought we were right around the same time there.
Yeah, my account was made like it was a Justin TV account. It was pretty old.
Nice.
But yeah, last month we had, I don't remember, I think we had like 1.5 million views last month, which was ridiculous.
Wow.
And the average was like 600 something. I don't know. This month has tied down a bit more, but yeah, I went from like having like just randomness to like having like a consistent number of like 200, and I really don't even know how. I just go live and people just decided to be there just to talk and hang out. So it's different when you try to explain that to someone, like build a relationship with each person and grow your stream. When you tell someone that, they're just like, I'll just, you know, have someone host me a bunch of times and I get like a bunch of viewers. I'm like, that's not how it works. You have to connect with people. There's no way you're just gonna like fly up there, you know?
Yeah.
Cause some like, what was it? I think like Lupo hosted and Burke Black hosted as well. And it was weird. It was almost like they were like pushing me on, because like it was like the final stretch, and it was weird, but it was cool to see like Ben like just drop a huge host and have Burke just drop a huge host, because I'm like, I didn't even think I was on these guys' radar. You know what I mean? It's just it's crazy. It's a different world out there, and I've been learning a lot more about it. Especially being on Twitch for so long, there were certain things that I learned in the last 2 months that I didn't even know. Even things about me that I didn't even know that like affected others.
Oh, just
Yeah.
doing that whole evolving thing. That's part of the reason we're all here, right?
Yeah.
So how did it feel then to get to that point now where you're feeling that like, oh, I'm on some people's fucking radars? Does that change the vibe at all when you go live?
Oh no. I still like do the same thing. Whether there's 5 people, 20, 1,000, whatever, I still like play the game, joke around and do the same thing. And I don't know. There's no point of changing it because there's more people in the room, or there's no point of like trying to be more professional. It's just, just go live and kind of go with the flow of the stream. And I tell people that too, be yourself, because for me, at least, I'm live like almost the whole day. There's no way to like fake your personality. If you're gonna do that every day for like 4 years, people are gonna know who you are. So it's just like one of those things. Like I just get on me. Like, I don't really have that many mood swings anyway. So like, if I'm like in a weird thing, people like, hey man, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. Or if I'm, if I feel a certain way about a certain situation, I do speak about it from time to time. But I'm human too. We all have emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the way that you've handled things though is such a testament to to the truth behind that form of community building, of going in just very authentically and just saying like it or leave it, doesn't really matter to me either way, I'm gonna do my thing. Because for you to be rocking out with like somewhere around 200 concurrents and hit these milestones that we're seeing a lot of our friends in the directory hit when they're averaging in like the thousands of viewers.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, right? Like, you really do have that tight group there.
Yeah.
What was it like building that? What kind of challenges did you face being in the Destiny directory, kind of coming up in there? And then especially, what kind of challenges did you face or might you have faced as a black man coming up in that directory?
I mean, starting out in the directory, like just like any other streamer, you're trying to like kind of network. You want to play with like the bigger names. You want to like, get noticed. But after a while, I was like, I'm just gonna play the game, and I'm gonna see how it goes from here. And then I started focusing a bit more on YouTube as well, because I'm like, yeah, it might not get that many views, but you know what? Someone who's looking for this will find this, and they will find my channel as well. And that also kind of helped out a lot. Kind of putting my energy towards YouTube as well, kind of brought in the community of people that are like viewing the game almost the same way that I would view it, or like they want to learn certain things that like I would go into and like look for that most people wouldn't look for. So then I started, I guess, connecting with more people that like looked at the game the way that I did, like Cammy and Drew and Sides. We became friends and like made a clan, and it was like I didn't even know what was happening, but it just started shifting towards that way. And we had, just a mix of like our communities and more people just like kind of finding out about each other. And you start, having conversations with these people, and before you know it, they're coming around every day. They ask you about what you're doing every day. And the cool thing about Discord is having all of these different channels that, kind of direct to different things. You see like food, like we have like a room for food porn, and you see like what people are into. We have one for pets, and you kind of get to know more about the person because they're kind of giving you a side of their life that's, that's close to them.
Mm-hmm.
And, when I first put all that stuff up, I just, I was like, it's there if you want to use it. And before I knew it, people just started engaging on their own. And it was cool. Like one of my moderators, when she wakes up, you'll see like a general chat like, hey, I hope everyone's having a great day. And she just like brings a positive vibe to that aspect too, which kind of makes the day like, you know, it puts a smile on my face whenever I get up. I'm like, I know Sassy's gonna do this today. It's just, you know, it's cool. I never would have thought about it like that. Like when people are like, hey man, you have merch, like it's just, I don't know, it's cool. Because when I started, I didn't think about like having to manage all of these things. I just thought about getting on and just playing and talking with people.
What kind of challenges have you faced as you worked to build this?
A lot of challenges for me. I would say patience, and then kind of just weeding out the bad from the good. Because in life you're gonna meet a lot of different people, and they're all gonna have different agendas, and sometimes you're gonna, you know, your name is gonna get thrown in a blender or something like that. I even had, you know, a share of like dramas between like moderators, and it's something that's like hard to handle because there's a lot of different people, a lot of different emotions, and people connect to you differently. But then like, even though those people connect to you, their energies don't work well together. So it's one of the harder things is also to balance out, you know, energies between folks, right? You know, it's cool to tell grown-ups like just block each other, just ignore each other, and it still happens. So that was definitely a challenge, and it sucks, but you basically got to kind of put your foot down, like, hey, are you guys here for me, or are you guys here to fight each other? You know, like, you know, it's one of those things I was thinking about. I also had a mod who would like just randomly, whenever a name like it was a female name, he would just be like at them. I was like, dude, why don't you say hi to the guys too? Like, what's wrong with you? They're like, just, they were just like, but I learned from that too. Because starting out, you just like, when someone comes in your chat, you just like mod. I'm like, hey man, you been around, you know, become a mod. And over time, I started learning too. Another challenge is to have people that represent you, because even when you're not in chat, those people have the best interest for you in mind. And that was another thing that I learned. Of course, there's always like the racist pricks that come in, and you know, what like one of the best things that we've done, especially as a community, is kind of ignore it, because when they're coming in for attention. So when we ban it, no one talks about it, we just let it go as if nothing happened. Because you talk about it, that's the whole reason why they did it, because they're looking for attention, they're looking for a reaction. And I felt like I lived long enough to like not have to worry about someone calling me a certain word because they felt like, you know, oh, I gotta go do this because I want to get this guy mad. That means there's something going on in your day that you're trying to like, there's a void that you're trying to fill, and I'm not going to fill that for you. I mean, that was a challenge as well. I used to get, you know, mad and talk about it for like a while and rant about it. And I noticed that's what they wanted, you know. So that's another challenge as well, you know, like keeping your cool and having your energy stay on the positive side and just relax. I still tell people to hold these nuts, but you know, it's just, that's part of life too.
Yeah, that's necessary. I think that's an important part of life. Rec, did you do the same thing? Yeah, with moderating people initially when you first started on Twitch. Were you the same as EK and me too? Like the first person who came in, I was like, here's a sword, be my friend.
Fortunately, I did get the chance to like meet other folks like later on. So I think my first mods were like people from like my Destiny clan at the time, but afterwards it kind of ended up bouncing out in the end. So
it's interesting the way that we like the majority of people I know who started streaming and did it long term, how much they went with the flow in like kind of the not fun sense when they got started. Not like EK's talking about with like, I just do what feels right, whatever I feel in the moment. It was more like, that's what you want? Okay. That's the music you want? Okay. That's the type of title I should have? Okay. I need that bot? You got it, mod. Totally. I got stuck in it, man. I got all confused. So you had to deal with that, and initially you used to get really angry, but then you were able to kind of move past that and get to a point where like it didn't faze you. How could you advocate for other folks in your situation to learn how to get to that state of mind? Because I think until you make it past it, it almost still seems so abstract, the idea of not getting upset when people are saying such horrendous stuff.
Yeah. I look at it this way, kind of from my perspective. In life, there's always going to be different views and there's different triggers for why someone does something. And you might only see it one way because as soon as you read it, it triggers something that that's the way you saw it, right? Like if someone puts a racist word in chat, you're like, man, this person's racist. But there are some kids out there that do it because they think it's funny, and there's people out there that do it because they hate you. There's people out there that do it for some odd reason. And the thing is, if you spend that much time and that much energy getting angry over something that you actually don't really know, I feel like that energy could be put in a positive way. I always talk about like bouncing back energy. So if someone like comes in and does something like that, you know what? We're going to ignore it. We're going to listen to good music, and something funny is going to come up. Or like what I'll do is like, if I saw something funny on Instagram for the day, I put that up, we laugh, like the entanglement thing or whatever. And then like we go by our day, like it's more about like just finding a balance and understanding that you can't understand everything in the world and why certain people do certain things, because that's always going to happen. And the best thing to do is just kind of, I don't know, just let it go and, let karma do its thing. And if you don't believe in karma, I'm pretty sure you believe in energy. And if you have positive energy and you're always thinking about positive things, over time it will happen. Because I didn't think I would be where I am right now when I started streaming. I just started streaming. I just enjoy playing it. And it's still crazy. I still think about it every day. Like I wake up, I'm like, how the hell did this happen? But it did happen, and it took a while. And you could be on Twitch for as long as you want. You never know whether you're gonna get lucky, or if you're gonna catch a break, or if something's gonna come up that's gonna change your entire life. And that's the risk that people take when they, when you basically grind and you put in yourself full time on to Twitch. Because I was thinking about it the other day. I was going through like people that I follow list. And a lot of people started out streaming Destiny. Like I met a lot of them. I played with them in Destiny 1, some in Destiny 2. A lot of them haven't streamed in a long time. So I always tell people it's a rare breed when you like see a lot of people that are still streaming, because it's not an easy thing. You may think it is, and you'll see people like get back on like, yeah, I stopped streaming for a while, blah blah. And everyone has it's not an excuse, but everyone has like something to say about it. But it's not as simple as it looks. It's definitely an investment, and if you don't believe in it, I always tell people, if you don't believe in it, just do it as a side thing. But there's, I would say, over 1,000 people that I met that I've been in their stream that are not streaming currently anymore. So a lot of us are, I would say, like a diamond in the rough, because you never know. Yeah, you really never know.
Yeah, and you've stuck with it for a long time. Obviously, you've achieved some pretty badass recent success. Do you feel along the way, like last century, whenever it was that we had our last bars episode, a fortnight ago, we were talking about opportunities within the gaming community and like the streaming space for Black folks and for people of color. Do you feel that you have had a decent level of opportunities, especially when compared to some of the friends that you've kind of listed who are rocking out in similar numbers to you and with similar milestones?
Yeah, I mean, after hitting that milestone, I legit, like, I still think about this, and I'm like, it's crazy, I was talking with, I think it was Purcha. I was talking with Purcha. We were talking about like, hey man, you seen like this dude got like this many subs and stuff like that? I was like, yeah, but I was like, everybody has like their own like journey. Like you don't know when your journey's gonna come up. And it's funny, when I was talking to Pure about this, I think I had like maybe 500 subs, but I was happy with that. Like I went through a lot. Like I basically I moved out of New York because the price of living cost too much. I ended up in Medford, Oregon, where the cost of living was really good, and I can like just basically kind of put all my energy into streaming. And that's another thing too, like sacrifices or certain things that are seen there. And I don't think too many folks that even hit that mark with me had to sacrifice much. And here's the thing for me. I never want to like use my skin color to try to get ahead or like say that like something is too tough. But when you look at numbers and you look at things, it flat out puts it says it for itself.
Mhm.
And it's hard to say, but yeah, like if you look at top of most directories, not even just Destiny, there's not too many Black folks up there. And it's weird. It's like we don't get put out on platforms that much. Like front page after the whole Black Lives Matter thing came through, then all of a sudden, like I was on front page like almost like every other day, and I was like, wow, okay, so now Twitch all of a sudden knows that I'm here. And it took me 3.5 years to even fight for my premium contract, because I remember with my partner manager, I had like a good decent amount and I was very consistent with it. And seeing like someone else who wasn't even as consistent, getting that, I'm like, how is this happening? Like I always want answers, and he's like, well, that person probably is connected through an agency or something like that. There was always like these like answers that I'm just like, but yeah, like, but I'm doing this. Why do I have to like overdo this in order to get that? Like, why does it have to be that every time? Like, even like Black History Month, I think last year I told him I didn't want to be featured because it was just like, it seemed just like you're like a poster board, like a billboard thing. And it's like, no, man, I create, content on this platform. I put in as much as anyone else, if anything, way more than most folks. And it's like, you're not even like kind of helping me at all. But my partner manager is awesome. Don't get me wrong. Like Anish, whenever I ask him anything, he does his best to like get me answers and like give me the things that I'm looking for. But I also think about this. What if I didn't even have Anish? Like, and Big Cheese, we were talking about it. Like he was partner for a long time, never had a partner manager. And it's just, I don't know. I felt like it's probably because Anish loved Destiny that I ended up even having him as a partner manager, because he sees the game like in the same way that I kind of see it, and it's like, what if that wasn't a thing? There's just so many what ifs because of my skin color, instead of like, oh, I'll be fine, I can just do whatever, whatever I believe in, and I know that if I work hard, that I'll see it. I'll see the fruits of my labor. But it's not that simple.
Yeah. Yeah, that's got to be frustrating at times. I think we've talked about that in previous episodes too, of that, like, there's always an answer, but it still doesn't feel like it goes past what seems like the glaringly obvious thing, which is just that there's just so much racism everywhere, that there's so much in terms of like internalized, like the internal biases and stuff like that, that these opportunities are just not being afforded until there's something that deliberately forces folks in terms of like leadership positions into remembering that they've got to support the Black community. And then that leads to what we've talked about on previous episodes also, of this just like common issue of tokenism, like tokenization of people. It's pretty ridiculous. That's got to be really frustrating. We were talking to someone who kept getting put just like on front page whenever it was like Black History Month or after George Floyd. They just started putting people on the front page without even talking to them.
Yep, well, follow, let us know. But at the same time, I'll fill out the form and try to get on front page, and I hardly ever got it, ever. I got it once, and it was like 2 hours each Tuesday, I believe, for a month. And it was like, but you see folks that get on there all the time, just like all the time. They just put them up there. And then it's almost like the rich just gets richer too, because what all they do is just throw on the top streamers. And if you look at the top streamers, there's no one of color really up there. Someone was like, what about Myth? And I was like, I don't see Myth on front page that much. Like, there's a lot that goes Yeah.
Yeah. So what and this is a question for all of our friends here right now. What do you think are some things that could be done potentially to help kind of bridge that gap and make it a place like not just within the Destiny directory, but like Twitch in general, online gaming, to help lean us more towards representation versus tokenization, or just help kind of elevate people? Any thoughts from any of y'all?
I don't know. I feel like at times a lot of content creators are kind of scared to like maybe lose someone in their community that's like maybe a big supporter or something, like especially if they know that like that person might just be fishy or whatever, and then that like basically makes that content creator not work with others. Because I noticed too, like in that directory, like there's no one that could be like, oh man, EK, I play with you every day, and that's why like you got all these viewers. No, I got on every day, and I never asked anyone to play with or nothing. I just got on and did my thing. No one really reached out, right? Ever. And then like, you know, once the 10K thing, everyone was like, yo, you want to play some games sometimes? You want to do this? And I'm like, dude, I've been here the whole time. You know, like, one of the coolest people, one of my closest friends is Bife. Bife is awesome. Like, he'll come in, we'll sit, like, you know, even yesterday we were doing like Grandmasters where we were talking about like weapon perks. He gave me a bunch of stuff about lore, and I learned from him. And it's just like, it's cool to have a friend like that. But there's so many people in the directory who are so scared of like what their community might think of them if they start like, you know, playing with someone or even like supporting like Black Lives Matter, because you know, a lot of them are scared. They don't talk about it, not even on Twitter or anything. They just kind of kept to themselves. So that's always going to be a hard thing in directories, because people are going to be worried more about building their brand and like basically just keeping the people that are there because they're trying to grow more, instead of like, you know, being just normal human beings and caring and not worrying about what someone looks like and who they are instead.
Yeah, I think that's important. How does it feel? Did it change the way that you felt towards like any of the people that you kind of used to or still hang out with in the directory, or just in general on Twitch and in gaming, noticing how many of them were very evidently not vocal about everything going on, about the Black Lives Matter movement and, you know, George Floyd and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I even follow some because someone like, well, I fought for this country, like all lives matter. And it's like, instead of like taking your time and figuring out exactly what's going on, because the bar is not the same, you know, like there's a certain bar here and there's a certain bar here. They're not aligned. So you can't say everything matters when there's actually no perfect balance. You know, that is something that is like unbalanced. And, you know, when I see stuff like that, you could just tell that this person doesn't want to listen, because the first thing when it comes to communication with someone is that person allowing themselves to comprehend what you're trying to say. So if you can't comprehend what I'm trying to say or even understand me, it's just going to go in one ear out the other, and you're still going to think the same way. And I looked at it as, I'm not going to waste my energy on this person because they already set their minds on one thing. And a lot of folks are like that though, and it's hard to say, but you know, you just got to kind of like space yourself. And it's weird because there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of different people, a lot of different emotions, a lot of energies that don't work together, but everyone kind of like are entangled in one way or another, right? Like you have maybe one person that's cool with this person, but then they're not cool with another person. So when these two are hanging out, that person's not hanging out. So it's hard to, you know, kind of just keep yourself away from that as well.
Yeah, understandable. What are your thoughts, Rec? Like being another broadcaster online, do you think that there's more that can be done in terms of like the community effort, not just necessarily like the brands and everything they need to do, but what other things can all of us be doing to be more supportive and to help, not just during like certain times of the year, but to continue to help get more attention on talented content creators that are Black or people of color?
Well, it's like what EK was saying, that like there's people who are just afraid of like damaging something. I don't really know particularly what, but they're afraid of something. But if they could get past that and actually start building up their communities to remove like that kind of toxicity, and valuing removing that over just the number of people, like that's a step in the right direction. I wouldn't go as far as like what some people have suggested, like putting tags to find streamers of people or who are people of color, because that could also lead to targeted harassment. So like that change has to come from the community, from viewers and like the channels they visit, and it has to come from Twitch in the way that they highlight people from all walks of life more often than just like the quota.
Yeah, and in terms of like what all of us who would consider ourselves to be allies in a situation like this can do, we have to be the ones to say that to the leaders at Twitch, and to be making those requests, and to be putting that information out there, that we notice it too, that we see that this isn't happening, that things need to change. Because it's definitely not enough to constantly leave everything to the people who are being fucked over by it.
Yeah. I think someone had said it best, is that when people speak up that look like them, like they listen. So if more white people or more non-Black people of color would continuously speak up about XYZ, whatever, to like these platforms, these brands, or even like the creators, like you'd actually probably get somewhere.
Yeah. Bossy, I know you're really big on representation in as many forms as possible. Are there any other thoughts you have on how all of us, but especially folks who consider ourselves to be allies, can help in situations like this, can help in our online platforms and out in our spaces?
Definitely, like Greg was just saying, this is something that we actually talk about. For those of you in the chat that may not know, I'm a school counselor, but school counseling focuses a lot on social justice and representation and equity versus equality. And for those that don't know, equity means you give what needs to be given to raise people up to the same level, right? So some people need to be given more, some people need to be given a little less. And equality means you give everyone the same, whether they need more or not. So we work towards equity. And so like Rek was saying, for allyship, a lot that we talk about is how allies can stand up and what that looks like. And a lot of the times it's those people that are not a part of those marginalized communities being able to stand up and be like, hey, that's not okay, to people that are being racist or homophobic or transphobic, whatever phobic rather, or ism. And also, I would also say, if you have like, I'm trying to process this to say it properly, but if there's like specific people in your life that you're thinking of doing that for, don't just do it. Actually, like, ask them for their consent, for their permission. Like, if this happens, like, I'll give you a personal example. I've had very close friends ask me, hey, are you okay if I correct people when they use the wrong pronouns? And I really appreciate that, because some people know that's not okay. For me, yeah, that's totally fine, and I appreciate it. But doing kind of similar things with allyship, right? So, hey, if someone says something racist towards you, are you okay if I go back and be like, hey, and tell them why that's not okay, or blah, blah. I think that's an important thing but like don't make it a savior complex either.
What's the line there though? And I'm super interested, especially to hear from Rec and like EK on that too. Like, what is that line of? Do you want someone to reach out and say like, hey, is it cool if I go to bat for you here? And if so, like from your perspective, then Bossy, what is that like? Here, I'm leaning into that like white savior kind of role.
Right. So if I would literally, I know it's really hard, but you say, hey, is it like how you just asked, right? Is it okay if I go to bat for you? And then they say, yeah, sure, that's fine. And then just leave it there. Don't like continue and be like, well, this is how I would go to bat for you and blah, blah. Like that's unnecessary. Like just be like, cool, got it. Now I know.
I created a statement. Will you review it for me, please?
Yeah, exactly.
Can you get this notarized for me?
Yeah, like no, like if you're offering, you should know what you're gonna say. You should know what you're gonna do based upon your own research, your own knowledge. Hopefully, you read some books out there, like the White Fragility one, if that's something that you need to read up on, or anything about anti-racism, anything credible. And like when in the moment, it is really hard because I find that like that is a difficult line, because in the moment it depends on the people around you's demeanor, right? And sometimes it's total strangers and you don't know what their demeanor is. Like if you know that your friend most of the time probably won't say anything, then I feel like that's when you can jump in pretty quickly, right? Mm-hmm. But if you feel like that person, I wouldn't even say friend, that person, if you know them a little bit, like they might try to defend themselves, like don't just jump in there, because that's like showing the complex of being the savior, right?
Don't get twisted into the like speaking for kind of.
Yes, correct. Yeah, that's from my expertise, I guess, background. That's what I will drag.
I don't know what those hand motions were.
I was like reaching back. I don't know.
It's back here. This is where let me show you my expertise.
I have a difficulty calling that, so I do weird hand motions.
That's cool.
Am I an expert? I don't know.
The hand motions suggest yes. I think so.
Great.
So like from the perspective of like Rec, EK, LR, how would you feel, or have you felt in the past, like I don't know if that's something you've encountered where someone has reached out and asked if they could speak on your behalf or speak up for you, or if you've had anyone jump in and go kind of the other route of like, trying to speak for you instead of like up to help or whatever? Like, have you experienced anything like that? And if you haven't, what do you think that you would feel if someone did reach out in that manner?
I mean, I had a bunch of folks reach out, and the first thing that I did was I did my best to kind of educate a little bit from like how I felt about it, because in order for you to like go and be like, I'm trying to do something for my friend, you have to understand what your friend feels and how your friend views things. So yeah, I had a few friends reach out and they had statements and they wanted to kind of put it out there, and I went through it and I was like, all right, man, that looks good. And the funny thing is having like a 30 to an hour conversation with this person before they did it, they got to understand like some of my journeys and some of my experiences, and some of them aren't the greatest, but I had to kind of tell them how I felt, like in my skin sometimes, like going somewhere and it's fancy and like you're getting looked at because you're like that tall black dude, and it's like, I'm not doing anything, like I'm just here with my friends. There's just like certain situations, and I kind of bring that up to like, hey, this is how it is sometimes, certain places and certain situations, this is the way I look at it, and this might not be the way you look at it, but this is how I look at it. So there's going to be times where I have to take the long route instead of the short route, you know? And that's one of the things that are like, it's hard to explain to someone unless they're in your steps. Like, I mean, I also look at it this way. Like, there's been plenty of times where, like, you know, I dated out of like my race or whatever, and even like you get backlash from like, you know, like women of like color, like oh my god, he's dating like out of the race, like what is he doing? You know, like there's backlash from like all different aspects, and it's crazy to like explain this to someone, and then they have to like try to dissect it before they can talk about, okay, I understand how you feel, you know. Because for me, I just do my best not to like inconvene anyone. I just like to just chill and just relax, and stress is not a friendly thing on my side, you know. And it's hard to tell someone like, hey, that's not how you should look at it. You should look at it this way. But like I said, Snaps, comprehension is one of those things. If that person coming to me to speak for me or to, you know, speak about something comprehends and understands how someone feels, then that's like the first opening right there.
Yeah, because they're already at least like open enough to check in some respect.
Mm-hmm.
LR, have you had any instances? I know we talked, I think last time, about how like, or maybe this was even a separate conversation, I don't know, every day blurs together, but I know we talked about how like there's certain friendships you have where y'all, you know, joke back and forth together. But I do know that there are people who, as you exist in the world, will overstep with those jokes and the commentary and the stupid shit, you know. Have you ever had someone like jump up on your behalf, or ever needed someone to?
Yeah, so I believe I told that story a little bit here. Actually, maybe one of our first episodes when we did this. It was actually that same incident. So the context is, it was a bunch of us. It was last year, Guardian Con, and I think we were headed to Disney. And you know, I was the one non-white person in the friend group, because there's just not a lot of non-white people at Guardian Con. And you know, they're making a lot of like, and I will say, I do try to make sure that the people I'm hanging out with are okay with making some of these jokes, because I like to push some of the stereotypes and racial jokes in a small group, because there's an understanding there, and we understand the limits. We know where the lines are, and there was a few who were maybe they weren't taking it too far, but they were repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting to be funny, because we walked across a cop with a dog. And then one of them nudged me and is like, watch out, they're sniffing for bombs, because I grew up in the Middle East. And that was a joke I'd heard. I think something similar happened that weekend. And usually I'd be okay with it, but it has to really come from the right people. These weren't the right people, because I'm meeting them for the first time, most of them. And later that night, after, you know, we got some alcohol in us, one of my friends actually is like, hey, listen, if you're going to make a joke, and you're gonna base it on somebody's, you know, background, race, and even if they're okay with it, make sure it's funny. That it like, and that dude was like, he had nothing to say, and so like I appreciated that, because I knew I was probably not gonna see them until either this year, which didn't happen, or later on. And if then it became a repeated thing because it was the first meeting, maybe they're anxious, you know, not sure how we're gonna gel in person despite us gelling online. And so I appreciated that, because it wasn't anything over the top, you know. It was more like and it wasn't like he wasn't trying to shame them, put them down, but he's like, you know, there has to be more than just that. Like, you can't use the same stereotype over and over and expect somebody to not get tired of it. And then there's one thing that I do with my sister, and this is not necessarily related to race, but my sister is, and this was more over the last few years, she's like 5'1", 5'2". She just turned 20. And men stare at her because she's a girl. And so what I've started doing is, if we're out in public, I stare back. And so I take that as my form of like batting on her behalf, because it's like, if you're gonna stare, I'm gonna stare back, and let's see how you like that. So I just you know, not to divert too much away from that, but like there are things you can do as well, like going out on public transit on a crowded bus. You can, if you have female friends with you, kind of like form a defense ring. So like you can still bat on behalf of certain people without having to necessarily like go above and beyond. Yeah, I just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely relevant. It goes into that same kind of topic of allyship and what it is and what it isn't. You know, if you're out like as a woman and you got a bunch of guys with you and people start acting creepy, you don't want the guy to like start putting his paws all over you and be like, "This is my girlfriend, you can't talk to her," as a way of like helping. You know, you want to actually like just try to speak up in some manner. And I feel like that is like sort of how a lot of like white people tend to bungle allyship, is like the paws all over, awkward, kind of fucking it up vibe.
Right. Yeah. Like, and then you don't want to, part of it is also, I think you want to make sure that you're defending without making them uncomfortable as well. And so you putting your paws all over them is definitely not making them comfortable, unless they're like, "Hey, can I, hold on to your arm or whatever while we're going through this crowded area," like unless that conversation happens. And then, but bringing it back more to like allyship in terms of a viewer on Twitch, I had this thought that because I've been like looking at a lot of my habits lately, I don't know if I'm doing enough, because all I've just been really doing for the last 5 years I've been on Twitch is just kind of like going from channel to channel and see who I like, and then just spending time there. Somebody's having a good Friday night. And I'm wondering, is that enough to bring up the people or elevate the people who really have been trying or have been around for so long? And it's complicated because part of me is like, well, I'm just doing my thing. I'm not going around on Twitch and selectively watching based on race or religion or ethnicity. I'm watching for the content, but is that enough? So that's kind of where I've been at. And while that whole conversation was happening, I've been thinking about that.
It's interesting to get into it in terms of like allyship, because I know we talked about like performative allyship and just how transparent I think that is. What are, in keeping with our conversation, Rec, I don't know if you had any particular instances where someone has attempted to stand up for you and it felt wrong or off or anything. But if not, I'm super interested in what types of allyship, aside from just performative being an evident one, what else stands out as like, ugh, that's not the way.
Yeah, no, I don't recall anybody like going to bat like in person. I mean, I think I've had people like in chat be like, "Yo, troll, like shut the hell up." But no, I don't think I've ever had like somebody in person do it. I guess for me, that I'd rather you try to do something. I don't really see it as someone speaking for me. I mean, there's levels to it, but it's better than just being like someone in the corner just like letting that shit happen too. Like there's just levels to it.
So what do we say to the people out there that are still wanting to support and do their part and get to that point where they're just freaked out that they might say the wrong thing and then everyone's going to view them as this racist monster?
You talking about for the ally, or?
Yeah, in terms of allyship, because that's one of the strange things that people seem to be concerned with, is that in attempting to be an ally for like the Black Lives Matter movement, somehow they're gonna say the wrong thing and everyone's gonna hate them.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that is a thing. I guess they've seen how like some parts of the community will jump on somebody for saying things that are incredibly tone deaf. I still say that discomfort is minor. It's better to say something and learn from it, because it's whatever. If you do say the wrong thing, it's probably going to be incredibly temporary compared to being silent. But again, if you have a different way of, being an ally that doesn't necessarily involve your words, whether that's like money or drawing awareness in other ways, like there's other ways to do it without, I guess, putting a target on your back. I don't know.
I get what you're saying.
I mean, there's people that do it with their actions and not really what they're tweeting about, because we've seen it. There's like companies out there like, we stand for Black Lives Matters, and they'll do like their little pitch, and then after that, that's it. You don't see anything else come from them. You don't hear anything. They don't have like any fundraisers or anything up, or even pushing people towards it. So actions do speak louder than words, and ever since this thing happened, I met a lot of folks, and I see them around every day, and it's crazy to say, you have certain folks like, man, I never knew about your content, but you got like a subscriber for life, or you got a follower for life, like, and these people, like, I see them every day, and it's like those actions mean a lot more than just someone like going on Twitter doing it for likes, and then like later on they're like, oh well, I did my part. And it's like, that's the thing, it's an ongoing thing. And if I always say this, with silence kills, because if you're quiet and you allow someone to do something, then they're gonna keep doing it because they think it's fine, or they know that you're gonna allow it to happen. And if you don't say nothing, how can that person even know that it bothers you? They just think it's fine with you.
Yeah,
that was the part of the performative part too, right? Like, it's not trendy anymore to some folks in the week since, compared to really like the week after, whether that's brands or individuals, that they're not really talking about it as much because they were doing it for the likes and the retweets and the engagement. And I see someone in chat said that it was like, it feels like pandering and virtue signaling now, but I just hope that people can tell the difference between those two, like between like an actual ally or somebody of color bringing forth the attention, like, hey, like, this has not stopped just because it's not like your feeds all the time, versus someone who's still being performative.
Yeah, and I think EK also touched on what like was kind of our underlying belief as we started this series, was that this has to be ongoing work. This isn't something that you can just speak out on once. We can't just have one episode where we discuss this and then it's like, dope, we did our part, good job, we have officially eradicated racism, I'm so proud. Like, this is, as soon as we get our shit together, especially, this will be an every week thing. And the work of anti-racism should be an everyday thing. It's a part of checking ourselves. Like, we're all learning to grow in a lot of different ways. Like EK was talking about since coming on Twitch, all of the different things that he's learned about himself. Like, I think all of us have those things that you used to say that you don't say anymore because you understand that they're inappropriate or unkind. Like, this is stuff that you are going to be surprised potentially at how far deeply it goes within you. So it has to be an ongoing commitment. So if any of you in here who are listening or watching tonight are not doing that work, and especially if you are a white person and you have been able to benefit from white privilege for your entire life, like, now is the time to really make that a strong commitment in yourself, to not let this be one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, I bought a book. It's somewhere around here. It's, oh yeah, I went to a diversity thing at work, so problem solved. This is our job to take on more than anyone else's at this point. We are the ones that have the largest potential platforms at this point. And like Rec was saying, like, it's the voices that are being heard right now. So we need to use our voices to make sure that all voices are heard. So that's, you go.
I was just going to say, if books aren't your thing, I can guarantee you that there are YouTube videos, TED Talks, audiobooks. Like, there's so much information. Articles, like, you could read a short article. I'm sure, like, reach out, try to look for it. First, Google it. Try to make sure it's credible. If not, like, reach out, like, to people that you feel like are knowledgeable on that. just don't expect them to tell you. Just be like, hey, can you direct me to credible sites that I could learn more from? Or
not what do I do? How do I act?
Yeah. More like send me in the direction I can do my own research. Rewinding a little bit because I didn't want to forget to say this. Back to what Rek and EK were saying about being, don't just stand there silent. Don't be a part of the bystander effect, right? Don't just be there and watch and say nothing or do nothing, because that is passive racism, right? Is in the book Racism Without Racists, it talks about passive racism, and that's a part of it, right? If you're just gonna let it happen and not say or do anything. Yeah, and I know earlier, I hope it wasn't interpreted as don't do anything until you ask the people around you. It's more like, still say something, but maybe check in afterwards and be like, was that an okay way for me to handle that?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that should help break things down a bit more for people.
Yeah.
So we've talked about allies in the good sense, some kind of additional ways to go about our own efforts at allyship. And now the next thing that we had wanted to talk about this week is the absolute flip side of that, which is when major movements or exciting moments within the Black community get essentially hijacked. And I guess a good or horrible example would even be like the All Lives Matter nonsense, right? There's a lot of instances like that, and I think it was the Black Vogue that had brought it up with you, right, Rek?
Yeah. For those who weren't familiar, there was a hashtag that was going around called Black Vogue, and that was basically Black creators, photographers, models, whoever, would make their own Vogue covers, like as if they were edited by Vogue.
Oh, I saw those.
Yeah, and they would tag their posts with that hashtag, just to shoot their shot or to show off their skills just overall. And over time, we started to see non-Black folks using that hashtag, and eventually it got flooded with more non-Black folks than Black folks using that hashtag.
I cannot even imagine, how do you see that tag and think this is for me and still be able to tie your shoes in the morning? How do you really see that and think this makes sense for me to use this? I am a white person. This is hashtag Black Vogue. Let me just jump on it.
It makes me. Sorry, Eller.
No, you're good. I was gonna say I don't even think it's about, at least for some, it's some of them are like, oh, they aren't going, this is for me. Some of them are going, hey, look, this is doing numbers. Let's just use this and maybe I'll get seen. Not that there isn't racism tied to this specific example, but to me, that's what the first idea that came in my head was. They're seeing something do numbers and they're trying to selfishly use that. But that's still achieving the same effect of taking the spotlight away from the community, the Black community, trying to celebrate themselves and lift themselves up.
Yeah, because that makes me think of all the things like the TikTok dances and stuff, where Black creators would come up with a dance, and someone white or non-Black would take the dance and appropriate it, and they do numbers, but they never credit where they got it from. And then even things with Fortnite taking some of these things and not paying those creators and so on and so forth. It happens all the time. We can't have anything nice.
Literally can trace it back all the way to the rock and roll.
Yep. All kinds of music
everywhere. Rock and roll was started by a Black woman.
Yep. And she was a bomb guitarist too.
Yeah.
I'd be super interested in how many people actually are aware of that. I should clarify. How many white people are actually aware of that? Because the history that we get, it's the most whitewashed shit ever. So if we're talking about those tags and these major moments kind of being hijacked, what is the feeling when you see stuff like that, aside from, you know, the kind of assessment of like, fuck, we just can't have anything? Like, what does that really say to you? Like, how do you feel when you see something like that start off? Do you anticipate that it's going to get hijacked? Do you have any expectation of being able to hold on to moments like that? Or does it feel kind of like this is just a matter of time?
Shoot, I feel like that happens like to me a lot. Like when I started YouTubing, it's funny. I'll make something, put it up, doesn't get that many views. Like a week or two later, another person just takes the same exact thing and puts it up, and boom, like they're eating off of it. Or like, you know, I'm not gonna say any names, but it was like, I think it was last season, right? I had a strategy up, and I was about to kind of apply it. The thing was, you know, I was streaming long hours, so I couldn't like do both at the time. And I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna do this like on Thursday. Before I knew it, a friend that I did the thing with helped someone else out, and that person ends up making a video about it. And it's like, oh, this is the way you do it. And I'm like, why didn't you just let me make my content? You know, like, and it's hard to like, you can't even get mad about it, because it just seems like that's not even just like a race thing. That's just like a dog eat dog world where, like, you know, if someone sees something and they have the opportunity to take it and put it out there first, they're going to happen. It happens all the time. So now I have to be like secretive, and I have to like, you know, tell my editor like, hey P, like make sure you push this out like right here, right then, because, you know, and I do my best to like answer questions and give people like answers for everything. And it's hard sometimes to like almost try to hold yourself back to answer something, because someone else could just take your thing and go run along with it.
Man, so like when you're playing Destiny and you're doing like raid help and all that kind of stuff, is it stuff like that you're worried about getting too in depth?
Yeah, so like let's say, you know, like I worked on a build, or like I found out like this weapon in this subclass, or like perfect example, Grandmasters in Destiny, like just Nightfalls. I do a complete breakdown of them, like where you're gonna run through something maybe tough, what weapons to bring, what subclasses, what synergies work together. And it's, you know, it takes a lot of time, but I played the game for so long that like those are like simple things. And it's funny when like someone tries to pick your brain, and all of a sudden like you see like what was picked out of your brain become a video, and you're like, but I was gonna make that video. You know what I mean? It's hard. It's hard to like kind of do it. Someone was like, hey, you're doing this guy's strat, and it's like,
oh,
it's just,
man.
That's my
yeah.
strat.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's gotta be fucking irritating.
Yeah, it's just, I look at it as just life, I guess.
I think it's interesting though, because when it comes to like the Black Vogue thing as kind of a separate example, right? Like that you can sort of say like, yeah, it's probably just because like it's dog eat dog. They would have done it to anyone regardless. But like the people who kind of do that in something that is so clear and defined, like this is hashtag Black Vogue, Black Vogue, and they still take it. I think of course it makes sense to look at it and say like, to an extent this is like a dog eat dog thing. Like everyone wants to succeed and grow, and they're looking for any opportunity. But in an instance like that, is that not like another massive form of racism that goes unnoticed? Is someone not looking beyond that and saying like, this isn't just me attempting to take advantage of an opportunity. This is me effectively trampling on the potential of other talented creators. Like that counts as racism, right? Is it not? The ignorance to even notice how detrimental that is?
Well, I mean, white people have gone unpunished for their actions for so long. It's kind of like they've never been held accountable, so they just do whatever they want. And just historically, and also not making a generalization, but like looking all the way back to colonization, there's been no real consequence except for the fact that the Britishers now only have one tiny island when they used to be like, what was it? The sun never sets in the British Empire, and now they just, you know, contained to one island. And you know, the whole thing is just the same as, you know, putting turmeric in lattes and claiming it to be a thing that we just came up with when we've been doing it for thousands of years. You know, so it's just there's been no accountability or any kind of pushback or any kind of negative consequence. Like nothing's happened for them to think, even because they don't listen. They don't want to listen because they don't see it. Right. I read a thread this morning where it was somebody in the community was not arguing, but they were calling somebody out on saying that I believe the NBA started up yesterday or today, and some of the bigger names, because I don't know anything about sports ball, they kneeled on the court when they came out. And people are like, well, how can they kneel when they're successful black players and none of the laws have affected them? Well, it's because just because they're successful doesn't mean they faced any difficulties along the way. And just because the laws aren't set up against black people specifically doesn't mean that people's attitudes and mindsets aren't set up against them. And so because they don't see it or experience it in any way, they don't believe it's real despite people telling them.
Yeah.
I guess
it won't work with the people who are like,
yeah, I guess people just completely forget like some players' origin stories. Like playing a sport got them out of them and their family, in most cases or some cases, got them out of, you know, being in a low income area or like the hood or whatever you want to call it. Like they didn't start rich. In some ways, that was the only thing that you could do to keep yourself from joining a gang or being locked up.
Yeah, and the idea that like black athletes don't deserve the right to speak on black issues because they are now wealthy is such a mess. I mean, I feel like there's just so very much to unpack there. Like I wouldn't even know where to start at how fucked up that is. And it seems like white activism is allowed in all forms, but black activism and anything that, you know, people of color attempt to kind of claim as their own gets immediately labeled as racist. Like I had someone send me a message talking about Beyonce's latest thing, Black is King, and it's always like that same kind of argument. And I'm super interested to hear how y'all respond when this comes up. But it's that idea of like, well, why do they have BET? If we had white entertainment television, it would be racist. Or why is Beyonce allowed to do Black is King? Imagine how awful that would be if it said white is king.
But isn't Fox white entertainment?
Oh.
I don't understand what they're complaining about.
Oh God, that's the damn truth.
Oh.
While y'all are thinking on that for a second, I do want to remind people that we are going to be wrapping up at some point relatively soon. So if you have any questions for the folks here tonight, ask them in chat right now. Hopefully we have a moderator that can help us update our list. If not, I'll try to scroll back up and go through them. But please continue again with your thoughts on this horrendous, trashy take.
I'm just very proud of that. So I'm done for the night. I think that's where I just
pull a Costanza and just dip, leave on a high note.
I'm just here.
Okay, great.
That kills me because it's like they don't even catch on that the reason why, you know, dedicated community channels exist is because there's no representation anywhere else. Like, you think that they're gonna air Spanish language content on any of these channels?
Besides Telemundo.
Besides Telemundo, besides Univision, there's no way in hell that's gonna be on Fox or ABC, please. Mm-hmm. And you know, the same thing with BET. Like, you're talking about there should be a white entertainment channel. Like, have you seen MTV? Come on.
Literally any channel.
Literally all channels.
It's like, you know, I don't know. It's like the kid at kindergarten who steals the toy away from other kids, and he's bullying and walking around, stomping and playing with that toy. And the kid that he just stole from found another toy and is playing with it, so he drops the toy he stole and goes to steal the other toy. It's kind of like, well, we're letting you do this, so can we just go off and do our own thing in the corner? And the moment that gains some traction within their own community, not even like affecting their communities, but within a separate community, it's getting its own traction. We're like, we don't like that. We need you to watch us. But it's an entire planet. I think we can all have different tastes and different like communities, but it's not allowed for whatever reason.
No, that's what I was saying. Like, we can't have anything nice, like with the Black Vogue thing, or even the ridiculous Instagram blackout bullshit. You know, so
yeah. It's a whole mess to see the way that people kind of don't see the need for that, I suppose, or the value in that. Like we've mentioned in my stream before, how we have affinity groups in the Discord, and we've had people kind of push back to that, like, why are you trying to separate everyone? It's like, no, it's not about separation. It's about giving people spaces where they can feel heard and understood, where they know that they're meeting folks from similar background or like-minded or whatever. When it comes to stuff like Black is King, you know, what is the message going back again if we're talking about that, or like people wearing like Black Girl Magic shirts and stuff like that? When someone has something to say about it, or they co-opt it, like J-Lo doing the Bronx Girl Magic stuff, like what do we say to people like that, and how do we, you know, kind of pointing at people in here who might see that and not quite get it, like how do we elaborate or elucidate on that for them, help them see that?
Just don't. Fucking don't, dude.
Yeah, it's wrong on two main levels, apart from, you know, I would be hesitant to say this is appropriation, but apart from stealing something that is coming from a source of pride or community from another, you know, ethnic group, it's wrong on that level, and then it's also wrong on a creative level. And so it's the same argument. On one hand, you'll have to have the same argument on like, why is it wrong to steal art? If somebody posted it, you know, the artist posted it on their Twitter, why is it wrong for me to also post it? And it's just hard. You can't have those conversations with people who are like, well, but I made it. But no, you made it, but now it's mine. Those are you have to have a conversation on those two levels, I think. And also with celebrities, it's PR marketing teams are like, hey, this looks good, and J-Lo probably has no idea where it came from. Right? I mean, the chances are she probably saw the design, she's like, oh great, cool, signed off on it, please put that out.
Yeah.
Right? So it's holding the actual people in charge accountable, and learning who's actually making those designs too. I don't have any ideas and solutions. I'm just trying to break down like where it starts.
I feel. Any other thoughts? I see there's some formatting happening over here as we're trying to collect Q&A questions. Gotta love those bullet points.
I'm really sad about J-Lo, whether it was something that she did intentionally or not, but like we all know that interracial racism exists too, and like she could have been really ignorant about that, but like it's so like, just let people have their things. Basically what Rex said, like, don't like if someone starts something like I know on art Twitter, one of the hashtags was drawing while Black. And then people also took that.
Oh my God.
And turned it into something else. Like, even if you're a marginalized community, I feel like wait at least like months before you try to bring it back. Like, not in the same time. Like, let those marginalized folks have their limelight. Like,
yeah.
We all know that marginalized communities have a harder time and larger disparities in getting viewers or any type of clout. I don't know if that's the correct word. numbers.
Mhm.
I just use numbers. So just let the drawing while black, the example I gave, like let that go. Like don't just start up your own other like drawing while Latino. Like just let those people have that. Like I don't know. I had something else more eloquent, but it slipped my mind because I'm a little tired. So I'm done talking now. I apologize.
That's cool. I think that you helped bring up some important things, including the kind of like secondhand shame you feel when your own community is co-opting a message that they could have just fucking waited on, you know?
Yep.
Oy. All right, well, we're gonna take some questions from chat. I assume everyone's, got some sleep to be sleeping tonight and to do things. EK, I'm not sure if you sleep. I think you talk about it. I think once in a while, like I think you have an emote maybe about sleep or maybe not. I don't know. You got so many emotes now.
Yeah, I definitely have a sleep one.
I was looking at your
Is that
emote
something you
list earlier.
practice?
Yeah, right? Was it
feel like he
based on
sleeps in
two
his chair.
events? Bro,
Yep.
like EK has so many emotes now though. Like you could have a full-on conversation just with the emotes in his chat. Like you could go
Hell
back
yeah.
and forth for like 10 days. I feel like never running out of relevant emotes for deep conversation. He's got so many.
Oh man, yeah. Oof.
Okay, so let's take a look at some of these questions. So the first one in here, it's coming from Chillsbury here in chat, and he is saying, and I'm just gonna read this and we can kind of go from there. I'm conflicted about how to feel about the BLM organization. They speak out against the nuclear family, which the lack of is something that is destroying the Black community, and none of their funds go towards anything Black, nor was it created by a Black person. Also, I have seen the level of violence that is happening in places like Chicago, my hometown, and it troubles me that Black lives don't matter to Black people because they're the ones committing the killings. At this point, I fear my own kind more than any cop. Am I wrong for pointing this out? There's a lot in that to unpack. Anyone want to start anywhere, by all means.
That's one of the things that you'll get when you're trying to speak with someone. They're like, well, like, you guys are being violent. And I'm like, what do you mean you guys? He's like, yeah, you guys are violent against your own kind. I was like, it's kind of weird because you can't really say that there's not, white on white crime or like, Spanish on Spanish crime, whatever it is. And there's good people and there's bad people. There's always going to be, no matter who you are, what your skin color is, there's always going to be bad seeds and good seeds. So yeah, there's, maybe in that area you kind of see more of it. But I want to say as well, there's a lot of folks out there of the same colors. They're trying to make a change. They're not, they're angry, but they're using the energy to be productive with it. They're not turning it into violence. And, it's hard to not get stuck in the media because the media portrays it as, here's the thing, negativity just is like an easy thing to just jump on, especially when it comes to media. And I always bring this back. Like, whenever someone does something great, you don't see people taking time out of their day on their schedule, waiting for this person to go live, like, hey man, great job. No. But when someone does something really bad, people take time out of their day to be in that chat before that person even goes live so they can call them all the words that they can think of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. That is the negativity. And that's what kind of happens with media as well. So, it's hard to not look at it that way because that's what's being pushed towards you. But I would say always do research and try to just look for more, because there's a lot more people out there trying to do better and trying to make sure that the next generation is in a better spot than we are. And if you let the negativity kind of take over that, then you're going to start downing yourself. When you start downing yourself, that's when it starts trickling and more things kind of like you start swaying like, wait, what if we are wrong? Or what if this is not the right movement? And that is something that, it's a personal thing that people have to go through and kind of see like, okay, what is going on and what do I need to know? What are the actual facts? So that's kind of like what I wanted to say on that topic. Yeah.
I would say that like it sounds like this person's research only went like surface deep. A couple of things. We talked a little bit about like systemic issues. So one thing is that like, well, if you happen to be in a low income area that happens to have a lot of one type of population, then yes, you'll see those types of stats. But have you ever thought about, like, in the media, they talk about black on black crime, but they, like EK was saying, they never talk about any other type of X on X crime. That's also a part of the systemic issues. And, at the end of the day, the issue is still that no police officer should be killing anybody. With very, very, very small exception. Like if there's actual a threat against their life with another weapon, that's probably about as far as you're gonna get. But beyond that, for just existing, nah, that shouldn't fucking happen. And then with what was said about the BLM organization, I can't speak too much about like who created the overarching org, but I do know that there's chapters in individual states and regions that are led by Black people that have disassociated themselves from that top level national organization. And I would just say, just do your research, especially in your area. You'll probably find the same situation, and you can find where exactly your money or support is going to. Like you have to put forth the effort and not just stop at the surface level just so you can spit out your surface level facts without taking the effort to go further than that.
Yeah, the speaking out against the nuclear family. Have any of you seen anything related to that?
No.
Because that was new to me. This person had asked this question in chat earlier this week, and I said I'd love for you to bring this into bars for us to kind of, well, they had asked a few questions, but for us to be able to have conversations about this. And that was news to me. I was trying to look into it, but I didn't have a lot of time to dedicate. Yeah, I found it interesting. And like, as far as I had seen, there's almost like a distinction in terms of the actual organization for BLM, and then there's the overall movement, which is just bringing awareness like, hey, Black Lives Matter, they're not treated as though they matter, our systems are fucked up, we got to change something. So like kind of all of that had surprised me. And I think if anyone in here hasn't watched 13th on Netflix, they do a great job in that documentary at talking about the way that things like this notion of Black on Black crime have been used to essentially gaslight the entire Black community and also everyone, to really criminalize Blackness and try to make it seem as though things that happened within the Black community didn't happen elsewhere. And they eliminated all blame from the equation, like all of these young Black kids that don't have dads. It's been mocked and used as a point of like, look, see, they don't even take care of their own kind of shit. But they don't really go into the reason why a lot of those fathers are not around. And then we look into the mass incarceration and the crazy, like all of the different things, the high death rates and everything that can take men away from their families like that. So at face value, it is very easy to see things and just buy into that notion that like, well, let's start with Black on Black crime. But there's white on white crime, there's every kind of crime, and it's a form of whataboutism. It just pulls away from the efforts of the overall movement.
Yeah, that was what the point I was trying to get to. Is like, first and foremost, it's a distractor. And you have to go past that and actually look into the reasons why X is actually happening. Going back to the nuclear family thing, the stuff that I've seen, and this is not necessarily coming from an organization, just chatter around the community, is that I think that the opinions that I heard, they were trying to say it in a way that, like, the family structure a lot of folks go through, where, like, for example, like, the father is not home or whatever, like, just to try to change that dynamic moving forward, as far as, like, what can we do to protect those Black fathers from falling into situations where their circumstances for leaving was because they got put in the prison system.
Mm-hmm.
Or, what can we do to just keep those families together, or change the stigmas around that type of situation, just as an overarching concept. So yeah, I don't know anything other than those things that I've heard for that, but yeah.
Okay. Bossy, was there anything that you had to add to that first question or series of questions that we got there?
How did you know? Yeah, I was thinking about when talking about the level of violence, on top of what everyone else has already said, thinking about, like, we already know about, or I hope, I guess, the fact that a lot of the data is also skewed because of a systematic racism, but including the fact that even if there are more, like, white on white crime or Latino on Latino crime, it technically doesn't count in the statistics unless they're incarcerated, right? So, like, we have to think about that too. And the systematic racism that is, like, the percentage of times that they're out on bail or being let go or, let off with a warning. Like, we have to think about those things too. So it's not just, one thing or another. It's just a lot of things.
Okay.
And I have not heard anything about the nuclear family part of it, but it did make me think about how I know, because it says speak out against the nuclear family. I know, at least in the queer community, the LGBT community, it's been spoken a lot about, and I'm wondering if this is a connection about how your nuclear family doesn't have to be your family. If you're in a situation where they are not a healthy family place for you to be in. I'm not saying that it's like this, but I'm thinking of it like found family, right? Sometimes found family is your family.
Yeah.
I just made that connection when thinking not based upon race or marginalization, just nuclear family and found family.
That makes sense. And we know that in all communities there is some issue in terms of how the family dynamic can be used in a harmful way, to kind of keep people feeling kind of tethered to each other. Okay, so moving on to our next question. Oh, it looks like we got like the second half of it. From Loxy. Let me see what the full.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember it?
I do. It was about when we were talking about not taking over the hashtags. And what the platforms can do. As we keep amplifying and advocating, because I said to be an ally, like if you see someone else using a hashtag that someone else started and being like speaking up. That's hard. I'm not very well acquainted with corporate world because I've been in like education for so long, which I guess in a way is a corporate world, but I feel like it's two very different things. So I personally don't really have an idea of what platforms can do or what those capabilities are. But I mean, I feel like we've seen what many allies standing up can do.
Yeah.
So that's why I say just be an ally, you know?
I saw a video on Twitter where someone kind of summarized the way that harassment and things like racism and bigotry on our platform can slowly but surely be kind of eradicated. And it is an individual level effort. Because if one person with a shitty attitude, a shitty mindset, an ignorant perspective goes into a stream and says some stupid shit, and they get called out on it right away, and then they move on to the next stream and they say some stupid shit and they get called out on it right away. They go to the next stream and they say some stupid shit and they get called out on it right away. The next stream they go to, they might just shut the fuck up. You know? So if enough people, especially those in a position to be an ally, speak up at every opportunity, even like you don't have to write a statement that you get notarized and sent out. Like you can just put a simple statement like, don't do this. That's it. And just step away again. You know, it doesn't have to be some massive overhaul or undertaking. Just start speaking up more every chance you get. All right. So we are going to be wrapping up because I'm sure everyone's got all kinds of wonderful things that they're going to do, especially sleepy sleeps. Anyone else, if you have more questions, I would encourage you to get in our Discord and to go and hang out with EK and follow all of these lovely people. You can see their social media handles above or below them. Follow, interact, be kind, be cool. And friends, we just have to decide where we're going to go from here. EK, if you want to make a suggestion in our little group, you can absolutely do that if you got that thing open.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let me see who's on and yeah. Let me see. I do have it open though, so let me just. Going all the way to the bottom.
That's the vibe, right?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Okay. I think I found someone. Let me copy the name. Hopefully I did this right. Oh, no.
I see it. I see it. I can snag it.
Okay. Okay. My bad.
Don't worry. This document is such a clusterfuck tonight. Holy shit.
We make it work.
We make it all work. Always.
Something like that.
New streamer.
We are great.
Use
at
whatever
this.
you have. Don't invest in anything.
Okay. So I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that.
Damn.
Oh boy. Let me just. Oh crap. I feel like the second two that we mentioned, we hosted the last two times or something, but am I going crazy? I could be confusing my own hosts.
I can't remember.
I know, I'm lost, man. I don't even know where I am right now.
The last one we have hosted a few times. The last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then the first one.
Let's go.
I don't believe we have hosted, so we'll do that. We'll make that happen then. All right. We will see you again, my friends, next Friday for another episode of Bars. Everyone, do us a favor. Make sure that you follow and support EK and all of these other wonderful creators here. EK, thank you again, man. Thanks for being a part of this. And congrats on 10K, man. Like, that really was fucking rad to see. We'll give you some good...
Thank you.
For sure. All right, everyone, we are going to go and we are going to hang out with... Oh, my goodness. I am good at stuff. Slash, that's a name. We're going to go bring some love to Amaze if I can manage to frickin' click his name and not mess this up. I am a professional broadcaster. What in the son of... Okay, here we go. All right. Are y'all proud of me? You proud of me tonight, friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, so proud.
Did a great job here. Oh my gosh. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you all, wonderful, wonderful hosts, for having great discussions. Everyone, go follow all the social medias, and you're going to go and hang out with Amaze. Click the raid now button. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
Do it.
You know, you only see the raid now button, right?
No, I mean click the button to raid, right? Because you click it. Isn't there a button?
Automatically.
No,
No,
I thought that everyone
automatically.
opted into this shit. I know I had
we
to
have to
click the
choose to leave it
button.
automatically.
Oh my god, I'm deleting this past broadcast. This
Don't
never
hit the button.
happened.
Why'd you ruin it? I was gonna let her keep that.
Son
up.
of a bitch, that explains the look on your face.
Had to.
Son of a... Look, I know what I'm doing, okay? We can't all be super pros like EK, okay? I'm doing my damn
Coming
best.
back next weekend.
Oh, I'm a mess. I love you all. You're all great.